Well, Brian Dawkins finally spoke up and voiced his concerns about the Eagles' secondary after the Birds got shredded by Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. Hear why BDawk thinks Kevin Byard, well, he might be finally breaking out next week. Jason Kelce spoke about his retirement during Thursday Night Football, and we finally have a great update on Jalen Hurts' knee. I'm Thomas Mott. This is the Thomas Mott Show. I can't be the only one who really enjoyed watching Jason Kelce during the Bears-Panthers Thursday Night Football matchup. He did pregame stuff. He was up in the booth with Al Michaels, who genuinely seemed to have more fun talking to Kelce than watching the Bears and Carolina Panthers play. But he just seems very comfortable, and I know the podcast is definitely helping him. Here's to Jason Kelce more than likely being some sort of NFL analyst next year if and when he goes ahead and retires. And speaking of retirement, he was asked about it during the broadcast and said, quote, "It's too hard to plan that far ahead. We'll see where we're at the end of the season. The league is changing so much. But I can say I'm having a whole lot of fun right now." Of course, we all expect him to retire at the end of this season. He probably would have done it last year had they won the Super Bowl, but here's to just continuing to enjoy Jason Kelce in his final year as a Philadelphia Eagle and hoping we can win as many games as possible and finish it out by winning the big one for him. Now, Kelce isn't the only Eagle making a national network appearance, as we have College Gameday featuring Nolan Smith as the guest picker up in Athens for Saturday night's matchup between the Georgia Bulldogs and the Ole Miss Rebels.
Nolan Smith here, outside linebacker for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not a celebrity, but I will be your guest picker at 11:30 on Saturday. And you know who I'm rooting for. Come watch me talk trash on the stage, and I will be back in Athens for the first time in a long time.
Nolan's a great kid. I'm super excited to see how he is on camera. He's a lot of charisma. He's a lot of fun. He hasn't had the greatest season so far. I was kind of hoping he'd do a little bit more up to this point at the halfway mark, but I think he's going to be really, really fun tomorrow. Let me know if you guys are going to watch Game Day because of Nolan Smith on Saturday. Now, speaking of enjoying their bye week, I know there's one Eagle who's really enjoying not getting hit on Sunday, and that is Jalen Hurts. And while we haven't seen or heard from him, obviously being away from the NovaCare complex, trying to get away from the Philadelphia Eagles a little bit and rest up that knee, we did get an update from ESPN's lead Eagle reporter Tim McManus when asked about the situation going on with Jalen Hurts, saying, quote, "There aren't any alarm bells going off. The hope is the bye week will help with the healing," end quote. Which isn't necessarily a deep dive into the situation going on with Jalen Hurts' knee, but it is a positive and really, really good report showcasing that the hope is not getting hit, not running around, not having somebody fall into it like you saw in the Dallas Cowboy game is going to make a big, big difference in healing this week, and here's to hoping we can have a healthy Jalen Hurts after the bye to finish up the second half of this season. And think about it, if he's this good comparatively to Patrick Mahomes through 9 games of the 2023 season, despite playing most of it on one knee, at least at times during games, what's he going to look like after the bye week if he's even healthier? Thumbs up if you guys do think that Jalen Hurts has a real shot at winning NFL MVP. I think that he might. If he outduels Patrick Mahomes on primetime Monday Night Football in front of the whole nation coming up in a couple of days, I think the MVP vote is going to start to really shift in his favor, and if he sustains it, the Eagles might have their first quarterback to win NFL MVP. Speaking of team MVPs, Brian Dawkins was on 94.1 WIP. He makes rare occasional drop-ins here and there to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, and he was asked about the Eagles being 8-1 despite the fact they've won a lot of ugly games. Listen to this.
They are a ugly 8-1. They are a quote-unquote ugly 8-1. It's not a pretty 8-1. It's not a glossy and shiny 8-1, right? They're not just blowing people out of the door. They're not winning by 30 points, 25 points. They're not doing that, right? They're finding ways because of mistakes they have made.
Now, BDawk was also asked about the coordinators and specifically the defensive coordinator, Sean Desai. Listen to what he said.
I can't trust the communication to get across the board. We can't be running a whole lot of exotic blitzes. So in my mind, to be honest with you, even though sometimes I am frustrated watching the defensive coordinator may not, call as many pressures potentially, especially against Dak. Like I understand it from the other side. Like if I call too much stuff, it's going to be some cats maybe running scot-free because I see certain times too many hands up, like, you know what I'm saying? You don't talk about
I know that helped. Like, what's going on? What happened? Yeah.
To the left and to the right before and after the play, right?
Yep.
So I see that too many times.
Now, he's not wrong. The offense has been a lot better than the defense recently, and I know Philadelphia's had a lot of injuries in the secondary, but BDawk is kind of hoping that Sean Desai can kind of raise his level following the bye week and get this defense a lot more on track than where it was against Dallas when Dak Prescott, genuinely in that second half, went up and down the field, and CeeDee Lamb was torching anybody in front of him. Part of the defense really struggling is their red zone efficiency and their third down percentage, and Dawkins spoke on that as well.
That's in the red zone for the defense.
Mm-hmm.
Got to get off the field, third downs and red zone. That is not a good formula for success. You know that being with Jim Johnson all those years. That was one of the things he always talked about.
Yeah.
We want to be tops in the league when it comes to getting off the field, third down, and especially in the red zone. That was his baby. red zone defense.
I do think that Dawkins is voicing the fact that there are some concerns. I mean, there have been some serious flaws and serious breakdowns in coverage, and overall the defense hasn't been much different than Jonathan Gannon, at least blitz percentage-wise. They're virtually the same in terms of Gannon's blitzes versus Desai's blitzes, but Dawkins at least explained it to me that it's not necessarily Desai not being creative enough or not trying new things, it's that Desai's worried to try new things when Eli Ricks is in the slot, or Sidney Brown is in the slot, or Byard's playing, for the first time since being traded over from the Tennessee Titans and learning a whole new language. It makes a lot more sense, but I do think the expectation is, and BDawk would probably echo this here, after the bye week, after this little week off, Desai should start implementing some new stuff and really start ramping up his defensive performance. Now, Josh Davis, the Philly Special Show, and myself on our Wednesday live show every single week, we spoke about the secondary and how it does need to get a lot better. You watch the Eagles secondary get shredded, and there were a couple of times where if you take away the Josh Sweat sack on that final drive, Dak has I forget which receiver it was, wide open because they ran Zach Cunningham out on this player. Like, I really am starting to worry that the secondary is going to burn us in one of these big games. And the Eagles have 4 straight big games. We're not going to win all 4. I get that. But you mentioned it in the postgame of our show on Sunday. You went from Eric Bieniemy carving you up with Sam Howell to now Andy Reid getting an extra week off and Patrick Mahomes. I know they don't have elite receivers, but it feels like this secondary is going to get worked. And can I just say, Kevin Byard, man, 2 weeks. I know you're trying to learn a system, but at what point does your all-pro abilities not overtake and kind of start to show up a little bit here? He's been irrelevant. He truly has been irrelevant. Yeah. And I'm waiting for him to pop up because I love the trade, but it's starting to give me Robert Quinn vibes. And I know it's too early to say that because Quinn was awful, but Byard has not shown up yet, man. He's not been there.
Yeah, he does need to show up. I'll agree with you there. It is early. I know you said that. I know you kind of disclaimer on that side, but I hear you. Even from the grades, you want to take a look at the Cowboys grades coming out. I mean, honestly, the only players you could say played well in that game, and everyone had mistakes. We're not saying, no one was flawless, but the only players I would say secondary was Slay. Slay played pretty good. And Reed Blankenship. Reed Blankenship played pretty good. Now, again, they all gave up big plays, but if you look at the grading and kind of look at the film and the reports, everything there, those were the two that are more the constants. But to your point, I mean, like, Byard gave up a really, I think it was like, a 35, 40-yard gain to Ferguson. There was another one over the middle to CeeDee Lamb. So it's kind of constant. I'm with you, though. There's like at what point is it on the coaching staff and at what point is it on the players? The fact that you have some players that are making plays like a Reed Blankenship and a Darius Slay, kind of like, it's got to be a combo, because otherwise, if every player was doing trash or playing terrible, then, you'd say, well, of course, it's the coaching staff because no one can play a good game. But the fact you have a couple, I don't know, but I'm with you. And I agree that there's concern. There's a reason that the Eagles are underdogs for the first game in forever. I forgot what the stat was and how long exactly, but they're underdogs to Kansas City, 2.5 points. Not a lot, but it's still an underdog. I probably would have expected that going in, but certainly we talk about, Andy Reid, bye week, extra time to prepare. And we haven't beat Big Red. Like, since he's gone to Kansas City, haven't beat him. So it's going to be a massive game. I think it's a prove it game for a lot of players. I hope that there's not extra hype, although I'm good with like motivation to say, hey, we lost the Super Bowl, so let's go take care of business in Kansas City. But this will be the ultimate test, because like you just said there, I mean, with a Sam Howell, with guys that have kind of torched you, so to speak, that you don't expect to have those big type of games or the names that they have. Patrick Mahomes is different, as we all know. So, I mean, there's a little fear going into this to say, you have some time to figure it out, but also that gives Andy Reid time to figure it out and determine, okay, how do we attack this defense that is very susceptible to the passing game? So I'm going to be interested to see that. I'm holding out. I'm a little bit more confident, or I don't know, optimistic, I guess you should say, for Kevin Byard. But I agree with you. I mean, we just haven't seen so much so far. So can Desai make the adjustments? Right. He's been good in second half adjustments. Can he make adjustments over the bye week? That's the hope. That's the goal.
Yeah. Now, it is the bye week, and thank goodness we can enjoy our Sundays, at least for this week, not having to worry about losing or winning or our blood pressure going too high or Desai's defense struggling or Hurts' knee having some sort of issues. I'm excited to relax on Sunday, but I'll be honest, I'm super excited for the next 4 games. I know they're tough opponents. Chiefs coming up on Monday night. They got a bye week. Big Red notoriously great after the bye week. It's a really good test for the Eagles and a really great test to showcase just how much better they are as a roster than they were when they played the Chiefs last year, because I think the roster is a little bit better. As always, we'll full coverage starting off next week, so make sure you guys go ahead and subscribe. We're approaching 27,000 subs. We're growing at an incredible rate. It's going to be crazy when we finally hit 30K. I appreciate each and every one of you. Enjoy your bye week, but get ready for next week as well. Plenty of great shows. I'm Thomas Mott. This has been The Thomas Mott Show.